Caitlin Clark, the most points in women's college basketball history. But is she the best player in all of college athletics history? We got to find that out.
Well, we also have to find out how a top 5 showdown in the country on the men's side shook down. It was actually a lopsided one. And we'll tell you who the favorites are come March.
And I'll tell you who's going to win the juicer. Hudson Ridley's out for revenge. But we know how much Andrew likes winning those juicers. You'll have to stick around to find out right here on No Pulp.
Kansas State has been on fire this year.
Missouri is one of the most fraudulent teams in college basketball.
And it was proved
They're not going to fire him. He's the best player in program history.
Side to Lawrence for the win! Yes! He got it!
She is the Shohei Ohtani of college softball. This is a team that's potentially going to be a top 10 team in the country.
How you feeling?
I'm excited to win the juicer.
LSU has captured its very first national championship.
LSU might have beaten Iowa in that championship, but we're talking to old Caitlin Clark in a moment. But for now, we got to tell you who we are. Ian Nicholas alongside Andrew Selover on No Pulp. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. Andrew, we cannot waste any time here because this already happened a few days ago, but it's still fresh in the minds of many, not just in women's college basketball, but around the country. Caitlin Clark, the most points in Division I history, and she made it look easy, as she always does. 49 points and 13 assists against Michigan.
Yeah, I think what impresses me most about Caitlin Clark, not only does she have unlimited range, but for me, her real impact on the game goes far beyond the court.
Ultimate winning player.
Right, ultimate winning player, but she's grown the game more than anybody has grown a college sport in a long, long time. The women's college basketball game is growing through the roof right now, and that's thanks in large part to Caitlin Clark. That's the one name that everybody around the country knows. And for her to set this record in 4 years, right? People forget there's a lot of college athletics.
No COVID nonsense here.
Right, there's a lot of college athletics records being broken in 5 years because players are getting an extra year of eligibility. Caitlin Clark still has an extra year if she wants it.
Right.
And she does this in 4 years.
They were chanting for it after the game. The Iowa fans were.
Exactly. She breaks the record, and she does it from 40 feet. That's really, a testament to what she's done. There wasn't any other better way for her to do it, right? Pull up from the logo
And that's what she said after the game.
possession.
She's like, guys, that's how I was going to do it. But then she also said, right after she hit the record, yes, that's cool and all, but we got to play better defense. Because she knows that this Iowa team, maybe not as good as they were last year, they need to be at their best, and she needs to be at her best every night if they want to make it back to the Final Four. But regardless of what she does in the postseason, last season, she took down Dawn Staley in South Carolina, but Staley doesn't care. She has nothing but praise for Clark.
I mean, what we're witnessing is something quite incredible. I think she's going to go down in the history books as, probably arguably the best player to grace our collegiate sports.
That collegiate sports, not just women's college basketball, which Dawn Staley knows better than anybody, but Andrew, is that too hot a take?
Is it? I don't think it's that far away, right? I think it's hard to compare.
But there's no ring.
Right, I think it's hard to compare one sport to the other. But I think when you look centrally at college basketball, for not only what she's done with her play, but what she's done to grow the game, I consider her, the number one player all time in college women's basketball.
I would compare two things, I'll say, and everyone's going to call me crazy, but the range that she has, the shots that she makes is like Steph Curry-esque. Just what Steph Curry did in the NBA changed how every shooter in any game of basketball has ever thought about shooting the basketball. That's what she's done for the women's game, as she passes Kelsey Plum in less games. And her impact, I'm going to say it, what Michael Jordan did for the NBA in the 90s to make it a global brand, she is doing right now for women's college basketball here in the States and globally. That's the kind of player she is, and I agree. I think Dawn Staley's not that crazy to say that.
Agreed. And I think one of the things that, you've picked up along the way that I've heard about Caitlin Clark that really measures how crazy of a story she is she's not receiving any NIL money from Iowa. She's only receiving NIL from her national brands and partnerships with different athletic brands to grow the game of basketball. It's really impressive that she's making enough to even consider going back for another year, even though she would be a top pick in the WNBA.
Right. A fantastic career. We'll see how it wraps up, whether in a few months or next year.
Yeah, we will. We'll see if it's one more year or she's headed to the WNBA, and she's still chasing that elusive ring for now. Another team chasing a ring, but a second straight ring, is Connecticut. UConn entered
Nutmeg
the weekend, the #1 team in the country, but they had a top 5 showdown against Shaka Smart and Marquette. But this one was a blowout. Almost a 30-point win for the Huskies. They dominate on their home floor, facing the reigning Big East champs, right?
Yep.
Marquette won the Big East title last year, then UConn won the national championship. But it seems like Connecticut is unstoppable right now.
Yeah, first I'm going to say I am a Connecticut native, didn't grow up anywhere near the XL Center. I've got to get to a game there. Passed up an opportunity to go last year, and I regret it. I'm sorry to my high school buddy. I did not take him up on the offer to watch him play Villanova. But second, Andrew, this wasn't just a 30-point loss. You got to remember, Marquette was the #4 team in the country headed into this game. This was the worst loss that a top 5 team has suffered against another top 5 team ever. It was embarrassing.
Yeah, I think what surprised me most was how together that UConn is playing right now.
Such a deep team.
You know, it's not like 1 or 2 stars. Cam Spencer wins his individual battle over Tyler Kolek. That's Marquette's best player, probably.
And that's really by a wide margin.
Right, held to 7 points in this game, just the 6th time he's been held to that margin of scoring so far this year. And UConn wins dominantly on the boards as well. 18 offensive rebounds for the Huskies, 17 defensive rebounds for Marquette.
Donovan Clingan is a beast.
So there was a better chance on a missed UConn shot that Connecticut would get the rebound than Marquette. They dominated in all facets. They've got a full team, and it's going to be hard to beat UConn again come tourney time.
Right, because they have the stars. You already mentioned it. Cam Spencer, the Rutgers transfer, who is a perfect Dan Hurley guy. This guy talks so much. You know what? He is a huge trash talker. You've got the hometown kid in Donovan Clingan. And Tristan Newton, the guy put up like 15, 8, and 8. He does that every single night, but it's legitimately like an 8 to 10-man rotation. I think this is the best UConn team, and I know they just won the national championship. I think it's the best UConn team in 20 years that they've had.
There's no question marks right now for UConn, but there are question marks for Marquette. And so the one thing that I'm interested to see is the rematch, right? Marquette gets to host UConn later in the regular season. You might see these two teams play, who knows, in the Big East Championship. So it's possible that Marquette gets back on its feet, but you have to prove at home that you can at least compete with UConn if you're Marquette, for me to believe in this team.
I just think UConn's got so many options, you never know what you're going to get and who's going to go off for the Huskies, and that's why I think it's going to be tough. What has been really tough right now, though, is South Carolina men's basketball. This team has fallen off a cliff. They just lost to LSU and squandered a 16-point lead in the process. And Andrew, that was after they lost by 40. You want to talk about blowouts? 40 points to Auburn.
Yeah, I think the second of those is a little more concerning for me because this was a South Carolina team with 3 losses. Looked like they could beat anybody in the country. We're beating up on the best in the SEC.
11th in the nation they were ranked.
Right, they were beating Tennessee, they were beating Kentucky. And you go to Auburn and you just can't hit a shot and you lose by 40. It's easy to do to get behind at Auburn, a really good home atmosphere for the Tigers, and then it can kind of fall down the tracks. But when you were up 16 in the second half at home against a bad LSU team, and you can't finish out that win, that's the more concerning one for me here. They've still only lost 5 games. I still believe in this team, right? If they can get it back together, but that's a bad 2-game stretch, and it really doesn't show promise here to end the regular season.
I mean, getting 100 points hung on you, and that's an Auburn team that just lost big to Kentucky, too. I know Kentucky's got some good pieces, but that's super concerning as well. And with South Carolina, I just think the fluky run is over because they were so good in close games this year. The metrics really don't like them. They were 4-0, 5-0 in games decided by 4 points or less, and now they're getting blown out. So if they're not getting lucky anymore, I just feel like under a second-year head coach, they're not going to regroup, honestly.
Yeah, I think they're a good enough team to win games come March, but they can't be headed to March playing like this.
No.
So you don't have long. You got a couple weeks, and they got to figure it out real quick.
They do. And in the SEC, where you've got Tennessee and you've got a bunch of other really good teams, there's not a lot of time to figure it out if you are South Carolina. I've got a lot to figure out, though, in a few minutes because this guy's always throwing me curveballs. We're going to talk a little baseball. We're going to talk a little lacrosse as well when we come back with the juicer and Hudson Ridley, the challenger, to face Andrew. You won't want to miss it.
camping, buddy. Okay, you guys ready?
Dude, I thought you were driving.
I thought you were driving.
Oh, I never said I was driving.
I definitely can't drive. If you're high, just don't drive. It's illegal everywhere. If you feel different, you drive different.
If you love them enough to crawl into a play place to get them to come down, then surely you'll check nhtsa.gov/the-right seat to make sure they're in the right car seat.
Welcome back to No Pulp. Ian Nicholas alongside my friend Andrew Selover, my co-host, and somebody who doesn't want to be Andrew's friend tonight. Sorry, it's Hudson Ridley. The juicer, you know how it works, but if you don't, well, here's what it is. 3 questions. First question's worth a point, second one's worth 2, third one's worth, you get my point. And if we don't have a winner after 3, we go to a bonus question. Hudson, you're a little salty after that last one?
Just a little bit, Ian. Just a little bit. I got
messed
around.
robbed.
I did, but I did. People aren't just saying, it's just a fact. It's objective at this point.
All right, well, I'm going to try to stay objective here as I do something that is going to make Andrew very happy. We're talking college baseball. Andrew, it starts with you right here. Sure. Who is the team after just 1 week of college baseball? Who is the team to beat?
I go to the reigning national champs. That's LSU, because I've got the Tigers going all the way this year. You know what I think is the key reason? You can talk about Paul Skeens and Dylan Cruz leaving, but 2 words for you. Tommy Tanks. That guy hits tanks, and he's back for another year. He hit the walk-off to help the Tigers beat Wake Forest and win that national championship. And also for LSU, they got off to a red-hot start. They had to shorten the game today. They beat VMI 27-5.
VM who?
VMI, Virginia Military Institute. Yeah, you didn't think you were going to get me there. Shortened it to 7 innings because they beat them so bad.
Okay, well, I think they have much of a team at VMI, but do you have a good team?
Exactly. VM who at this point? They're beating up on tomato cans right now.
What?
But we can't really focus.
Tomato
can.
VMI.
I mean, hey, I don't want to disparage them, but they are a tomato can. We can't really talk about, though, results in this case. We need to talk about the guys on the team and the guys on the field right now. And there is no team with better guys in this country than Wake Forest.
In this country, in
this entire nation, there is no team better than Wake Forest. They have the potential #1 overall pick in Nick Kurtz. 4 of their players are projected to go in the top 15 in MLB.com's mock draft. This isn't just some random guy making it. This is MLB.com. They also landed one of the best transfer pitchers in the country in Chase Burns.
Yep.
Who's not just one of the best transfer pitchers, he's one of the best pitchers in the entire nation.
Coaching wins. Jay Johnson, best coach in the country.
Okay, well.
But coaches win when they have great players,
Yes.
and he listed a heck of a lot more great players than you did. You actually mentioned more players that left than great players that they have.
That's not a good
thing. And I'm a Nick Kurtz fan because he should have been an Amsterdam Mohawk. So that's a point for Hudson Ridley, and it's only worth 1, so he goes up 1-0. He's going to try to increase the lead here as we stay with the bat and the ball, and we go to softball and ask the same question. Who's the team to beat there in college?
I mean, this really shouldn't even be a question because at this point...
it's my job.
I know it's your job. Oklahoma has won 3 straight national championships. If you look at the top 25 poll right now in softball, guess who has all 25 votes to be the #1 team in the nation? Oklahoma.
VMI?
Yes, VMI, and then Oklahoma too. No, Oklahoma, they don't just rebuild too, they reload. I know they say that about teams like Georgia and Alabama in football. I know it's a cliche, but it's true. They got 4 transfers in from UCLA, Texas, FSU, Tennessee. Those are some of the best teams in the entire nation, but they all feed into Oklahoma because they know that's the team that's going to be left standing at the end of the season, Ian.
You see those fields they're playing on over there? Mm-hmm. That's because they're starting the season against McNeese State and Lamar.
I mean, you're the guy who just
right.
brought up Virginia
Military Institute. Who cares?
But did they beat Lamar 27-5? I don't think so. They didn't have to shorten the game in that one. I've got Stanford because the Cardinal gave Oklahoma its best run for their money last year in the Women's College World Series. And this is a Stanford team that's really battle-tested. You know, they scheduled hard out of the jump, played 6 of the first 9 games against top 25 teams. And when you look at Oklahoma, 3 years in a row is enough. It's time for somebody to take over women's college softball. I'm going to a Stanford team that proved that they can compete with the Sooners last year, and they've really got the experience this year to get it done come June.
Do you think Oklahoma feels that way? Like they think that's enough? That's crazy. They don't. No, of course not, Andy. What are we doing?
Wow. He busted out the Andy.
I did.
It's personal today for Hudson Ridley, and I would be booed out of here if I didn't pick Oklahoma. Andrew, they lost a game last year. Stanford didn't even make it to the semis. I mean, how much better did they get?
I mean, I'm not.
Did they get that much better?
I'm not sure I really had a chance.
No, he didn't, and
it was an uphill battle.
He continually doesn't.
Yeah.
Well, Andrew, we're gonna reset it here with a new sport: lacrosse, men's lacrosse.
Good.
Who is the team to beat?
I'm going to go to a team that actually wasn't in the national championship last year. Not Notre Dame or Duke. I'm going with Virginia because the Cavaliers not only brought back all of their best talent, and you talk about Connor Schellenberger, a guy that's had 75-plus points in 3 straight years, but they bring in arguably the best freshman in the country. McCabe Millen scored 6 goals in his first game with the Cavaliers. Freshmen don't do that. He's a big-time addition, and you talk about a team that still has that championship DNA because they won the title in 21. They still have players from that, and they beat a top 10 team, Michigan, by 8 to start the year. Can't touch the Cavs in 2024.
Lars Tiffany, Central New Yorker, great coach. It's going to be pretty hard to pick against Hudson.
He might be a great coach, but he's not playing on the field. At the end of the day, he's not what
Coaching
matters.
does matter a little bit.
Not only does my pick have the best player in college lacrosse, they have the best player in the entire world. Brendan O'Neill is the best player, and he was named the best player at the Lacrosse World Championships. He plays for Duke. That's why Duke is going to be carried this entire way through. He's the reigning Tewaaraton winner of the year, and they have other players. It's not like they just have him. 5
checks the notes to find who they are.
Oh my goodness. 5 returning All-Americans, Andrew. 5 returning All-Americans around a guy who is one of the consensus best players in the world, if not the best player in the world, because he was named so. He's going to want to win a national championship. It's the one thing he hasn't done at Duke. He's going to push this team over the top at this point. I don't see any way that Duke sputters on its way to a national championship, Ian.
Well, I do, Hudson. Sorry. I'm a big fan of Millen. #1 recruit in the country. Better than Joey Spallina. I said it. I'm sorry. I like you, Joey. And Matthew Nunes, better goalie than whatever they've got over there at Duke. Time for the bonus question. Who wins the no pulp orange juice? I completely forgot that I had turned into juice form. Mm-hmm. We're going to go back to college baseball. Mm-hmm. We're going to go to you, Hudson.
Yes.
We talked about the best teams, but now we need the best player in the nation. Who is it?
Jack Caglione, 100%. He pitches, he hits, he can do it all. He's number 5. I mean, at this point, we need to understand.
You're playing
that
me.
I'm playing you. We need to understand that a guy who can do it on both sides of the ball is likely to carry his team more than just, whatever hitter you can throw out there. At this point, I see him as the best player and the most exciting in the country.
I hate to tell you that that's not that rare in college baseball. You just haven't watched enough of it. You see plenty of those players every year. You don't see a guy that hits .449 playing Power 5 college baseball. J.J. Weatherholt at West Virginia hit .449. Dylan Cruz last year drafted 2nd overall. He hit .426.
Oh, now you care about the draft.
.426. .449 as a sophomore.
And he had less home runs than Jack Caglione. He had less home runs than a guy who pitches.
This guy has power, he has speed, and he can't miss the baseball.
Okay. But you know what he can miss? Games.
What are we talking about?
Broadcaster for the Chatham Mays. How many games did he play this summer? Some injury issues.
No, he went to Team USA because he's that good.
Injury issues, I believe. That's what I've heard. Yes. Availability is the #1 ability.
Oh my gosh, this is ridiculous.
And J.J. Weatherholt's, he's great. He's great at what he does, but he only does one thing, and that hits a ball.
Hits it .450. People don't do that.
But Shohei Ohtani is
Yeah.
just a great
This is
player,
outrageous.
and this is the Shohei Ohtani of college baseball.
Outrageous.
Jack Caglione wins. Hudson Ridley wins. some no Pulp orange
I've been
chips.
avenged. I've been avenged. That feels
No, it was fair. Versatility.
Yeah,
you have to be a Swiss Army knife? Yes, Swiss Army knife in my book. When we come back, he just downed the whole thing. That's very involved. Okay, you can, Hudson, we're good with you now. But what we're not good with is college basketball. We just don't know who's really good and who's really not good heading into March Madness. And Andrew and I, if he still wants to be on air with me, are gonna figure it out when we come back.
Did we get the thing on camera? Did we get it on camera? Why down the whole thing? Did we get it on?
That was very much on camera.
Okay, thank God.
Oh, I need my box.
Oh, they're the real.
Andrew, you're lucky you got to the box question.
I agree. Once I got there, I should have won.
No. Oh, my back. Oh.
There you go.
Thank you.
He was hurt, and you know it.
He played for Team.
Welcome to my house. Everybody's pretty tired of each other. The walls were closing in. Clearly a case of too much family, too close, 24/7. If this sounds like your house, try going someplace new. YourLifeYourVoice.org. You'll find lots of ideas to help you handle the family stresses of being confined to close quarters. YourLifeYourVoice.org. It could help you find a little more breathing room.
Welcome back into No Pulp. We've settled things down. Hudson Ridley's been kicked off the show. He doesn't belong here.
Well, he walked off the
He
show with a
doesn't
win.
belong here. Andrew Selover,
Doesn't belong
Ian
here.
Nicholas. It's time to get back to college basketball because March is right around the corner. And Ian, we've got a breakdown on what appears to be Mount Everest. I'm not positive there. Who we think are some of the tiers of college basketball.
Right.
And we're going to start with teams that are ranked highly, but we think are first-round exits.
Right.
Who do you have up there?
Well, I think that the leader in the fraudulent category has to be BYU, but we've got a few more than just BYU. Why I don't believe in Brigham Young is simply because they are not deep. And also, like, when I think of BYU, I just don't think they're good at college basketball. That just doesn't sit right with me. And then the one that people at home are probably going to say he's definitely on something is Tennessee. And I get it. Dalton Connect, Rick Barnes, very convincing. Who else is on that team, Andrew, that scares you? Nobody. They're a one-hit wonder.
Yeah, Connect could carry them is my concern through the tournament. We got Baylor and Alabama up there. When you move up a rung, some teams that might not be ranked as highly but can still make deep runs in the tournament or just aren't quite at that top contender level. You got teams like Carolina on that list. I've got a bit of a surprise one on the list for teams that are in that middle level of could make deep runs in the tournament. I've got Cornell going on that list. But I want to specify, I'm not specifically picking Cornell. I'm picking the Ivy League champion because Ivy League's only going to get one team in. Right now, I think it'll be
not going to run it back?
Well, it might be. I've got Cornell, but whoever wins the Ivy, I think makes a deep run.
So what? It could be one of 3 or 4 teams. It could be Harvard. It could be Yale.
Sure.
It could be
they
Cornell.
maybe put one logo on here, but I would put the Ivy League. Whoever the Ivy League champion.
Whoever wins the Ivy League championship, they're making it to what?
Sweet 16.
That's crazy. You're an Ivy League connoisseur?
Yeah. I play good basketball.
How are you going to put that team there, Carolina, after they've lost 3 of the last 5? Have you not been paying any attention?
No, they've got experience. Armando Baycott, he'll get it done.
Shouldn't an experienced team
You need
be
senior
peaking?
leadership, and they have R.J. Davis and Armando Baycott, so they'll get it done.
Fine, but Hubert Davis didn't get it done when it mattered 2 years ago. That's all I'm saying. Dayton, this team, they are better than the team that Obi Toppin had a few years ago. Watch out for that Flyers team. I think they're going to be flying high. I think I'll go on record, they're going to at least a Sweet 16.
You put Iowa State there. Not sure I believe in that one. But we'll go to the top rung, and that's the serious contenders. We only put 3 teams up here. Arguably, could have been 1 team.
I put 2 teams up here, and you put Houston.
Right, but Purdue and Houston, I think, are on the same level. If I could have it, I'd put 2, and then I'd put Connecticut on top of them because I think UConn's
There's just not enough room for that, but I totally agree with you.
Yeah, I think UConn's that good. I think UConn is by far, head and shoulders, the best team in the country.
Okay, so we're going to go crazy tonight. I'm already asking you for another prediction. UConn's winning a national championship. You're very good at making predictions.
No, they don't. Because this is March Madness, and you got to expect the unexpected.
So they're confirmed not winning the national championship?
Yes, UConn will not make. UConn might make it, but they will not win the national championship.
I'm happy I've got you on the record so that I can go back to my Twitter and I can keep exposing you.
I get 67 teams. He gets Connecticut, and we get you to another break here on No Pulp. When we return, we close up shop. Final words, top plays, all that ahead on Citrus TV.
Here's your check. Oh, you got it. You know, since I got rid of my car, I really enjoy walking.
Okay. God, no.
Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates.
Oh, you're home early. You live with your mom?
That'll set your game back a few years. Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
Come on, it's not that hard.
My big man fingers are having a problem with these little tiny buttons.
Whoa, watch it there. Your blood pressure's gonna go through the roof.
Tell me about it. I'm trying to learn how to get it down. Instead, it keeps going up.
High blood pressure can increase the risk for heart attack or stroke. Learn how to keep yours at a healthy range.
Ever hear a voice command? Just say text barbershop to 97779.
That's not what I said.
Just give me that. Now my blood pressure's up.
Welcome back to No Pulp. Ian Nicholas here, telling you about the one sport we haven't really talked about yet here on the show, women's lacrosse. That's where I take my play of the week, because if you don't know the name Jill Smith, you're going to have to learn it now. I think she could win the Tewaaraton this year, because what she does, this is some Houdini level stuff. Falling at GLE, behind the back. She set Michigan's points record last year. And I can't even comprehend that play even in slow motion. It was #1 on SportsCenter this week for a reason.
Ian, for me, something about the Ivy League. And that's where I head for my top play of the week. Staying on the lacrosse field on the men's side, let's take a look at Harvard playing Providence and Harvard's goalkeeper in this game, Christian Barnard. Let's roll the tape, because Christian Barnard starts off at his own cage, and he's running in slow motion in this play. But when you put it at 100 times speed, I mean, this guy was flying down the field. Barnard last year scored 2 goals in 12 games as a goalie. That's unheard of. Look at the defense. Unsure if they need to guard him. They decide not, and he scores in your face, Friars. Christian Barnard, that's a legendary moment.
Talking about legendary debuts, you said in your face. Well, Matt Massiangelo, a baseball player out of Sacramento State, he got hit in the face, shoulder, butt, whatever you want to say. This guy got plunked in his debut with Sac State 7 times in 8 plate appearances in a series against Loyola Marymount. I don't know what they were doing over there. I got a good friend, Kelly Nicholson, with the Orleans Firebirds in the Cape Cod Baseball League. He used to coach their pitchers. It's apparent that they're not pitching them anymore. He's not coaching them anymore, because 11 hit by pitches in one game, 2 games, 1 day from one pitching staff. And this guy got plunked 7 times. And here's the great part. He got replaced in the outfield in the 9th inning, and his replacement got plunked. And then in his first at bat today, he also, Matt, got plunked. I'm feeling for you, buddy. You got to bring out the ice.
Ian, I stay on the diamond for my final word. An inspirational story out of the first weekend in college baseball. We go to the Tar Heel State. 2 years ago, Parker Bird was a top 20 recruit out of the state of North Carolina. He decided to stay in-state and play for Cliff Godwin at East Carolina. But before his freshman season, Bird was in a motorboat incident that nearly took his life. After 22 surgeries in 45 days, he managed to keep his life, but he lost his right leg as it was amputated. And now 2 years later, in his sophomore season with the Pirates, on opening night, he came in as a pinch hitter, earned a walk as the first college baseball player to play with a prosthetic leg.
Inspirational, and whatever problems you may have, I may have, that's a problem that's unimaginable to overcome. Andrew Selover, Ian Nicholas, tonight on No Pulp. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you to our entire crew. We'll see you next week.